I call the member for Newcastle.
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Speaker. On the 13th of November 2014, I stood in this chamber as the newly elected state member for Newcastle and promised to the people in Newcastle that I would do my absolute best to advocate for you and represent you and our great city in this parliament. I stand here today, 4 years later, appreciative of the opportunity and pleased with the results and the community of I have been able to achieve. I've fought for our city's fair share from the port sale. I've advocated for those without a voice. I've fought to right the wrongs against Newcastle and shared the successes and congratulated Novocastrians who deserve to be recognised. I've been so lucky to meet so many inspiring people who are working to make our city a better place and hearing of ways I could assist to make it a greater place to live. So after 4 years, it's important we look back over what we have achieved as a community. It would be remiss of me if I didn't start with the biggest and most problematic of all portfolios, transport. Let's start with the buses. On 14th of January 2018, we've seen this vital service fall apart. Since then, I've been proud to represent a city with so much passion. We've held public meetings to share our stories, marched in the street to voice our anger, and then collectively gather over 20,000 signatures, which led to 2 parliamentary debates in this very parliament. I've fought alongside and for the bus, ferry and train drivers and commuters. I've called out the government's figures and excuses in Parliament. I've accessed freedom of information requests and lodged questions on notice. I've also advocated for the Newcastle public in my own party to ensure that Newcastle Transport will be fixed. And we have announced that when we will be calling the private operator into the Premier's office in the first days of our term and demand that they fix this mess. The same minister can be blamed for the atrocious treatment of our local businesses during the light rail preparation and construction. I've raised the concerns of Hunter Street traders and called on the government to honour its commitment to consider rent relief. I've highlighted the government's disastrous decision to build the Newcastle light rail carriages in Spain, the light rail tracks in Austria and the new intercity train fleet in South Korea. I've advocated for our strong manufacturing industry and called for the government to support Hunter workers. When I heard that the bogey hole was closed indefinitely, I looked into it. And discovering that it was just a restoration issue, I took this matter to Parliament. I followed that with a hugely supported petition, and some months later, I was proud to announce the bogey hole was open again. With Stockton Beach, it was an environmental emergency that needed to be addressed. With a lack of interest from the government side, I started a petition and it totalled over the population of Stockton. So clearly, Newcastle was behind them. The parliamentary debate was enough to force the government to sign off on a plan to start the process on managing it. Another big win for Newcastle was addressing health issues important to the community. I've reversed a proposal to slash the 24/7 palliative care ambulance service. Called on and had the palliative care roundtable come to Newcastle, called for an inquiry into the Stockton Centre group home tragedy, and also had changes made to ensure specialised staff remain on wards over the Christmas session after a constituent had a horrific experience at the John Hunter Hospital. The most recent success I've had was launching the Newcastle Live Music Task Force. Since hearing of iconic music venues considering closing down, I took action. I launched the Newcastle Live Music Roundtable, from which the task force was born. Since then, I called for the parliamentary inquiry into the music and arts economy to come to Newcastle and was proud to see a strong Novocastrian flavour in the report in the case studies and comments. Following this, we've just launched the 2018 Live Music Census and have had many more plans on how to revive the Newcastle music scene. We're not just getting the band back together, we're getting the scene back together. Other wins have been the incoming Newcastle cruise ship terminal, the restart of the Broadmeadow Entertainment Precinct plan, and air conditioning for the new building to be added to Newcastle East Public School. It's been an absolute honour to represent Newcastle. I've fought hard for the city, and I look forward to continuing this work in the next term of Parliament, working toward creating an even more vibrant, creative and innovative city. As the new member for Newcastle, I thank my community for placing their trust and their confidence in me. Together, we can achieve great things for this city that we all love. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the member for Newcastle. We're hearing private